All right. Once again, everyone, thank you for joining with us today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Singapore Salesforce Marketers. Hope we have a splendid session so far. When almost 25 sessions we have covered from the last 1 month. And thank you for all who joining us on a daily basis, and really appreciate for all the trailblazers. And we have different categories that we've talked about it, like email studio. Next, we are jumping into automation and journey builder from next week onwards. So tomorrow we have our last session, email studio, which we are covering AMA session. Anything you can ask me. So there are plenty of expert panel who are joining with us, so that you can ask all the questions on email studio, your day-to-day project questions, your real-time scenarios. We can talk about it. Today we have Pankaj. Pankaj is one of the marketing cloud champion who appointed and elected as by Salesforce Marketing Cloud. I think I'll request Pankaj to take care of the dash, and then you can introduce yourself, Pankaj. Thank you.
So funny, you wanted me to continue, right?
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. So hi, everyone. Let me share my screen first, and then I'll start with my quick 1-minute introduction, and then we'll directly jump on to the topic of the day. That is the real life, real industry use cases that we have encountered. And I wanted to take you through a journey, a glimpse of how it looks like to work in an enterprise environment with Email Studio as a background of this conversation. So we'll start quickly.
Yep, I can see your screen, Pankaj. Thank you.
Yep. Right. So my name is Pankaj, and I'm, as Funny rightly mentioned, I am current Marketing Cloud champion. Now, two small lines about me. First, on a professional front, I work as a solution architect with a digital marketing company called Vertical that is based out of Bangalore. And on a personal front, I do like to run, and I do like to actually contribute and explore places around where I stay. So that's two small lines about me. So today's topic is about real life use cases. As I said, after today's session, what you will be able to take out of this session is primarily a couple of things. First of all, how does the enterprise landscape looks like? Since we live in a Salesforce ecosystem world, we think that Salesforce is the end and start of everything, which is not the case. So we look at from a big picture perspective of how the enterprise landscape looks like, what are the various systems involved. So that's one thing. Second thing is a specific use case that we'll look at. So I've got two use cases which I'll talk about, in terms of demo, in terms of conversation. Those are the two use cases, and if time permits, I'll try and see if I can complete the third one as well. So post that, what we'll do is we'll open the forum for an Q&A. So those are the things that you'll be taking away through. One is that how industry thinks about a particular use case, what are the different solution aspects, and how do we implement that in Email Studio. So that's how we are going to look at. So as you can see, this is a small depiction of what I wanted to talk about, a big picture. See, and any enterprise, it's made of very, very small and big cogs. Okay, that's how big enterprise is made of. It's never made of one single SFMC, Marketing Cloud, or for that sake, CRM. However, smaller organizations do that, but I'm talking about in enterprise organizations. So keep that in mind, that and any enterprise organization is built of these small systems which work in tandem, and that's how the whole system works. So it's never a case of one system working. However, we tend to look at that way. So the whole idea behind this slide is make sure that you understand from an end user perspective and how this flow happens from end user, who is the main user of your system. So for if it is an e-commerce system, if like it is an Amazon of the world, think what user does on Amazon, how we are able to capture that information and then send him an email, and then post that, what do we do after that? So that's the end-to-end journey, not only about Email Studio in which you create an email, or for example, do some segmentation, subscriber management. That's a small part of the whole picture. So that's the idea behind showing this image, that Email Studio is one small cog in the whole value chain of end-to-end use case, right? And keep that picture in mind in thinking when I'll be talking about a use case, keep that in mind because I'll ask questions based on that. Remember, this is an interactive session. You can put your questions and I will take logical breaks in between as well to see if there are any questions specifically related to what I've spoken about. Okay, so now I just will take a couple of minutes to talk about what an enterprise landscape looks like. So if you see this circle at the end is the enterprise landscape, and it by no means this is the definitive one, but these are some of the major ones that we have seen in our experience. These are the different systems which are there outside Salesforce ecosystem as well. And let me tell you, there are many systems. So in the middle, you see Salesforce Customer 360. We have got CRM system. We have got our own marketing cloud for which this whole sessions has been done by Funny and team. Congrats to them. And then we have got CDP. There are other systems as well in the Salesforce ecosystem, but I've named a few of them. Now, if you see outside this Customer 360, there are many systems. Let me tell you, these are huge systems, complex systems out there in any enterprise landscape. So always keep in mind that this is the big picture, the enterprise landscape, the customer that you're working on. And if I'm taking an example of Amazon of the world's, Grabs of the world, these companies work, Uber of the world, these companies work in these huge landscape. These is the companies I'm talking about and referencing in my use case. So if you see quickly, I'll take you through some of the systems so that you are aware that these are the systems that are existing in the periphery of Customer 360. Remember, Salesforce is one of the systems in this whole cog. Salesforce is not the system. However, since we are working in Salesforce ecosystem, we look from that perspective. But the idea behind showing is, as I said already, this is the ecosystem which works together in tandem. So make sure you are aware of that, at least cognizant of that fact that these are the systems which are existing in the landscape and are as important, if not more than Salesforce or Marketing Cloud or Email Studio, right? So if you see, there would be e-commerce system. So for example, Amazon is an e-commerce company. What does Salesforce Marketing Cloud has to do with that? Think from that perspective. We have got order management systems. These are the systems, complex systems, which actually process the orders once the order is being placed. Then we have got enterprise resource planning systems, ERP systems, SAPs of the world. These are those systems that are there. Then we have got various social media channels out there these days, in which you can actually post on enterprise level, post different things on various channels, listen to them, work on those things. Then you've got analytics systems. Analytics systems are systems like Tableaus of the world, where you can actually gather or funnel all the data which is coming across from various systems and have a bird eye view of what is happening across your landscape. So that's the analytics systems out there. We have got in any enterprise, you'll find a legacy systems. Legacy systems are systems which have been built for that specific use case for the company and are very old. So it's very difficult to integrate with them. So those are legacy systems which are always existing in any organization. So you have to take care of that. We have got spreadsheets. no system is or a landscape is actually completed without any spreadsheet information available, which is in any hard drive. So that's always there. Then we have got reporting tools as well. Then we have got marketing systems. There would be not even Marketing Cloud. There could be some other marketing tools that are being used by other teams. So various other systems are there. Apart from systems, integration systems like MuleSoft. So it could be MuleSoft, or it could be other systems which are used to integrate all these systems. Then there could be within Customer 360, it could be CDPs of the world, loyalties, CRM, I spoke about, SFMC, I spoke about. There could be Datorama, Tableau, multiple different systems. And let me tell you, in any big enterprise landscape, this is very common, having these many systems. I mean, in my previous example, if I want to take an anecdote, that had around in that particular organization, they had around a transformation a couple of years back, and they had around 150 plus systems, small, big, at any scale. So imagine the complexity of things when you think about a solution, when you try and understand that. So always be cognizant of that fact. That's the idea behind showing that enterprise landscape over here, so that you get the big picture that everything else doesn't start and end with Salesforce. Salesforce is one cog in the system, and within Salesforce we have SFMC, and within SFMC we have got one email studio, which will be talking about in the later slides. So that's one thing. Second thing I wanted to take your attention was on zooming in one level down. Now I got into customer 360, right? So now customer 360 is there. Within customer 60, these are the different systems that I have depicted. By no means these are the full definitive list of all the systems, but certainly these are some of the systems. If you see on the right hand side, this is a list of all the systems that can be under customer 360. But in context of our conversation today, we'll be certainly looking within Marketing Cloud, and within Marketing Cloud, we'll be looking across email studio. So if you see specifically on this Marketing Cloud engagement, these are multiple different things that we can do. And I'm pretty sure since we have got 20 plus sessions done and email studio is already done, you would be aware of all the nuances or technical details of these features within Marketing Cloud, especially for email studio. So today's session won't be about email studio features, but it would be about a particular customer problem and how did we go about resolving that problem. We will be specifically concentrating on email studio, but we'll be certainly having some discussion around end-to-end use case as well, in which email studios are part of that discussion. But we'll be certainly detailing the email studio part. So that's the picture about customer 360 degree and where we are. So imagine in the landscape, we have got one customer 360. Under customer 360, we have got SFMC, and under SFMC, we have got email studio. So that's the magnitude of whole things that I wanted to get your thoughts on, right? So that's about customer 360 degree. Now let's go back to my slide deck. Okay, so let's start now coming into the crux of what this session is all about, the use cases. And these use cases have been generalized to not display any confidential information. So they have been generalized, and our NTO, that is Northern Trailer Outfitters, comes to my rescue because I'll be using their lieu in that. So these are generic enough, but making sure that you get a taste of how it is to resolve or work on a problem statement / use case at an enterprise level. Okay. So the use case was for a global apparel company. And this is an enterprise org. They wanted to use Marketing Cloud as their email marketing system. Okay. They also had an e-commerce system. E-commerce system was Magento in this particular case to provide a shopping experience. And they wanted to send post-purchase order receipt with the help of Marketing Cloud. So that's the problem statement or use case, that they have Magento over there and their site is hosted on Magento. And they wanted, once you place an order, and since we are from the Amazons of the world, everybody is used to that. I'm presuming all these terms are pretty relatable to you. So let me know, ask a question. Somebody else might also respond to that if I'm not able to pick, if I'm not able to make you understand all these terms. But these are pretty basic and run-of-the-mill stuff. So I'm not getting into details or taking a pause to explain them. So in this particular case, Magento was there. They wanted to send email receipts or the invoice that is sent post-purchase via SFMC. So that was the use case. Two different systems, two different universes. Magento is different. Salesforce Marketing Cloud is different. How do I actually go about providing a solution for this particular use case? And in the same breath, abandoned cart email. What is abandoned cart? If I add a product to my cart and don't do any action about it, that's abandoned cart. So abandoned cart is similar use case. Low on stock. If a particular product that for example, a particular set of mobile model, I added in my Amazon cart, then in that particular case, if it is low on stock, then somebody needs to tell me as an email. So that's the low on stock emails. And stock replacement. Now that mobile is back in the inventory, you need to inform the customer. So that's the low stock replacement use case. So all these are similar in use case from a technical standpoint, although different problem statements, but the solution on a high level will suffice for all of them. So I'm just using this interchangeably, but I'll be talking through the main one, which is global apparel, who wants to send a post-purchase receipt via SFMC, and the e-commerce side is Magento. Okay. What are the things that you need to think about as a part of completing this use case? And these are very implicit things you need to, these are like very, very basic ones that you need to think about. And I'll be talking about some of the explicit other ones as well, which are not very implicit. So what are the points to be considered? Who will trigger this email? For example, in this case, particular case, Magento, because they know that somebody has placed the order. What will be the content of the email? Which email needs to be sent? What would be the content of that email? That is second thought behind this. What would be the subscriber detail? What is the data to whom we need to send that email? Where that data will come from? Where it will get stored? Are there any APIs involved? What are the APIs that are involved in this case? If it is a real-time use case, if it is a near real-time, which is not instant. So these are the things that you need to consider in order to come up with a solution for this particular problem, which is about sending the post-purchase receipt via Marketing Cloud. So again, these are the points which are specific, not specific to Email Studio. I'll come to that. But again, as a part of end-to-end solution, as I spoke about, these are the things that you need to think through in order to actually manifest this solution in Marketing Cloud or across Marketing Cloud. Remember, this is something that not necessarily we will be able to complete in Email Studio. It will expand, but in the context of this solution, we will be specifically talking about Email Studio over here, right? I hope everybody is with me. If not, you can put it across in the chat, and I think the team is over here. Funny and his brilliant team can actually help you out. So pause the session, or if there is some confusion or something, do let me know. Okay, so that's the implicit things that you should be thinking about. Then there are other things as well, which I'll talk about. Okay, let me talk about it, and then we'll go to the system directly. What are the peripheral points that you need to consider? When I say peripheral points, these are certainly important, but you need to be cognizant of that while devising the solution about that. What will happen to email analytics now that you'll send that email to that particular customer? What will happen to that data where clicks open, that analytics metrics? What will happen to that? Because as you know, Email Studio or Marketing Cloud are not very good at reporting the data in terms of visualization and reporting. So a typical scenario in an enterprise case is you send it across to external systems, or you can use Datorama or other visualization tools. You can do all of that. So you need to think of how do I use the email analytics around it. What happens about the personalization angle? Why we are collecting that analytics data? So at the end of the day, the whole crux of the matter is organizations want to sell more. In our case, this apparel company wants to sell more apparels, right? So how do I actually make sure the customer purchases more as a part of this use case? Basically some recommendations, right? So if I have sent those emails, these are transactional emails, but still from an email perspective, you need to think, how do I use them to send more personalization on web, email, other channels, so that it drives them to purchase more, right? So if I purchased, for example, men's clothing, how do I send across some recommendations which is related to shirt, jeans, or a sport wear for men's, so that it drives more engagement, some kind of that. Do I provide coupons as well, so that we can entice the customer to purchase more of that particular segment, like for example, jeans or sportswear, right? So these are some of the things that are on peripheral, not necessarily specifically related to the use case, but very, very important that you should also have an eye to these kind of things, so that it helps you to actually create a rounded solution, or at least your thought process should be round enough so that these questions should be something that you can ponder, you can ask, and you can see if there is a resolution to that as well. Okay. So now what I wanted to show you was, I wanted to move on to Marketing Cloud. What I will show you is a couple of things. How do I, and this is by no means the only solution. There are multiple solutions to a problem. At the end of the day, you have to make sure that what solution fits the best to the customer. There could be multiple ways of doing things, catching air like this, or it could be like this. So you have to decide based on the use case of the customer. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is a couple of things. As I said, first of all, from a content perspective, what the email will be sent, that is first thing that I'll talk about. Second thing is I'll talk about how that email will be sent. So basically the trigger mechanism. that who will trigger that email. Well, I will manually sit and see that all the orders are processed, and then somebody else manually will send those email with the help of flow, or whether it would be an other mechanism like trigger send. What could be that mechanism? So we'll see that, right? And then obviously once you send that email, last part is once you receive that email, what happens post that. But yeah, that end-to-end cycle from the time Magento triggers it, email content is created inside Marketing Cloud, and then it is sent across to the customer. So that end-to-end cycle will have a look in that broad spectrum. Just keep in mind, this is a big use case, but we are specifically targeting the email studio specific circle. So it's a subset of the whole use case in our scenario. Okay. So what I've done is, as a part of this, I created some templates, pre-created templates to showcase, because I don't want to create it, the templates in front of you, because it's a time taking, and I'm presuming in the previous sessions you must be well versed with that. So I am not doing that particular case, but I've got it created for you. Again, this is very simple email template that I have created. The idea is not to give you a very glamorous or good looking email. The idea is to show you the functionality. So if it's not soothing to your eyes, so please bear with me. So I'll quickly, okay, so this is, by the way, this is approved. So I'll quickly open this one. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a simple email with header and a footer. In the middle, in the body, what I have done is I have actually created a content block over here, which basically does a very basic first name personalization and an order summary. Order summary is something that certainly you need to get it from the Magento, in this particular case, the origination system. But to make it simple in this use case, what I've done is I've actually created that block myself, but these details certainly needs to be passed from the triggering system, which is Magento. But this is how the particular email looks like. Very simple one, basic one, to showcase you the end-to-end journey. So that's that. That's first thing. Second thing is the trigger send. Okay, so now remember I spoke about the scenario whether it will be triggered via an API, or there would be somebody sitting manually and sending those emails as a flow in SFMC. Turns out if you place and just try and relate with Amazon experience of yours, so you'll get a lot of answers from a use case perspective. So in this particular case, if you place an order, do you get email receipt then and there, that is immediately, or you get it after 15 minutes or 20 minutes? Can anybody answer that question with saying that immediate or 15 minutes? Can I get some answers that I get to understand whether people are following me? Anybody? So how do you get email receipts? Whether it's immediate or it's after, let's say, a gap of 15 minutes or half an hour? Instant, immediate. Okay, thanks Geetik Murugul, Lakshmi, thanks Santi. Yeah, thanks everyone for responding. That's true. So that's perfectly normal to get it real time, not near real time. So how do we do that? Then in that particular case, what will happen is basically I will be able to, the trigger send is something that comes to my rescue in this particular case, which is a no-brainer, right? Which is, what is trigger send? Trigger send basically helps us to actually send the emails which is triggered by some other systems. That's the triggered send, as the name suggests. So somebody triggers it, it will send your email. That's it. So it might be covered. So I'm not covering that features, but I'm just trying to relate it to the use case that I'm talking about. So in this particular case, what I've done is I've created a definition, a trigger send definition, which is a very basic one. With what it does is I do all the basic things about the name, the description, external key, something important. So I need to be sure about it. Then what is the content that I need to be using in that triggered email? In this, when I say triggered slash, I'm interchangeably using triggered emails to your email receipt invoice. So just try and don't get confused in that. So this is that email that I just showcased a minute back that I've chosen over here. So this is the email that I'm deciding that will be sent across as a part of that email receipt invoice. And it automatically picks my subject line, pre-header, details. Then I'll select what is a trigger send data extension. So this is a data extension that you are supposed to create. in your folder structure, which I've already done. I've selected that as well. And if I want to do a suppression list and all those exclusion lists as a part of my configurations, I can certainly do that. But in the complexity of time, I have actually not done it, but it doesn't harm my use case. So what I've done is I've created that, and obviously I've started that. So that's the definition. So email will be, I've spoken about content, that is the first part. Then I'm talking about the definition, triggers and definition in the system, saying that this is a definition of how things will happen and what will happen, right? That is the triggers and definition that I showcased. So that's the second part. Third part, Magento needs to trigger that now, right? So Magento needs to trigger this definition, and this definition will pick this content that I have already done and send it across to the customer. Okay. So now in this particular case, how does Magento triggers it? So in the real life use cases, obviously Magento system would be there, their APIs would be there, to whom you will be providing this key, the key that I showed you, this one over here. That's very important over here. So this key will be provided to those Magento users or Magento development team, and they will be using that in their APIs. And then once that they'll be triggering it, then this will get activated and the email will get sent. But since we don't have Magento, we don't have the Liberty, or we don't have Magento, so in that particular case, what we'll do is we will simulate that thing. And how we'll do that? Postman. Postman comes to our rescue. Postman is a tool that, with the help of which you can actually simulate or test your API related things. So in our case as well, we'll use the Postman bit. I've set up everything. I'm not going through in details of what I have done, but I've set up all the things over here in terms of authorization, in terms of the body that is required. So I've created all of that. So in a nutshell, I'm simulating a Magento system where the order is placed by a particular customer. In this case, you can see some of the attributes, some of the details that I'm passing to that particular triggers and definition. So I've created everything. I've got the authorization as well. And now what I'll do is I'll simply simulate that as soon as the order is purchase is done, Magento triggers or sends the API, triggers that API. The definition is this one that we had, remember we had, I mentioned that it's very important to this one. So that's the thing that I'm simulating, and let me click that. Okay, so authorization. So I need to refresh my authorization. So let me do that. So I've got new access token from here. I will copy it and add it over here. So if you're not aware of it, don't worry about it. The idea is not to show you this. The idea is to just to show you how it is simulated. So don't worry about Postman or APIs or authorized token if you're not aware of it. Don't stress about it. Right. So as you can see, it has been accepted. So basically saying that I have actually triggered that APIs and the system over here. When I say system, SFMC, this triggered send definition has actually got it. Right. So this triggered, this is something that we have, this triggered definition is something that we have activated from that simulated Magento system, which is Postman in our case. Right. And then officially I should get an email now. Okay, with the help of that content, that same very content, this content. So let me see. I think I've already got something. So this just came now for me. So let me see if I can open it over here as a web page. And I'll give a couple of seconds for it to load. So if you see, what it does is basically it sends me that email, right? So Magento/Postman triggers with the help of API to our triggers and definition, which you had already created, chosen the content over here. The third part was the content. We had already chosen the content. And now as soon as the content is done, the email is triggered. And in this case, if you can see that email has come across. Okay. Now this particular details, all of these details should come from that APIs, which I haven't done in the brevity of time, but certainly all these details should come from there, because as a marketing system, I don't know what the orders, what the products have been purchased, what are the prices, everything resides in the e-commerce system or Magento in this case, right? But the crux of the system is that we have done all the three parts of that use cases, which is triggering from an external system, Magento/Postman, creating a definition and triggering that definition, and then sending the email to that particular customer. In this case, it's me. I put my email address over here, right? So that's the first use case from that perspective of specifically Email Studio, how you can leverage Email Studio to actually create a send a real-time email, which is being triggered by an external system, in our case, Magento/Postman, right? 3 steps. Again, just to summarize, and then I'll take a pause and then we'll move on if there are no questions. First of all, simulating that Magento experience in Postman, where I've been creating those APIs, getting the authorization, and then triggering those APIs to a particular external key of a trigger send, which is configured over here, which are already pre-configured. I had pre-configured the content, email content, which is this one for this particular demo, but in real time as well, I'll create that and call that particular content over here in this triggered send definition. And then I initiate that trigger from Postman or Magento, in the real life case from the Magento, and it'll trigger this definition and it will use this particular image, which is done as a part of this triggered send definition. And then with the help of this external key mapping, it'll send that particular email to the details which I had sent. In our case, it was my email address, my details, and all the order and everything related to that will come as a part of that API and eventually send across in the content as an email to the customer. So that's the end-to-end scenario or resolution with the help of Email Studio for this particular industry use case, which is a very common use case, to be honest. And this comes across to us a lot. As I said, we interchangeably use them a lot for our implementations. As I said, abandoned use card, low on stock, replenishment coming back, or back in stock. All these use cases work on a very similar modus operandi, which is somebody triggers that trigger definition that we are created over here, and the content, somebody triggers it and we send the email. So essentially, these are the 3 building blocks of these problem statements. So if I generalize them, this is technically how you would be able to resolve this particular problem statement or use case. And as I said, again, disclaimer, by no means this is the solution. There could be multiple solutions, right? But in the context of this conversation in Email Studio, this is one of the ways where you can do that. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll take a small pause and see if there is any questions. If not, then we'll move on to the use case number 2. You can do that transactional event. You can track it over here with the help of over here tracking sends. You can do that over here. And then there are other mechanisms. This is one of the ways you can extract it with the help of other things as well. Anybody else? Otherwise, I will. Are we going to see the data model in this scenario? Lakshmi, I haven't created any data model at the back end of it, but certainly that data model needs to be there. For this particular case, I haven't created because this was one single email. Deliverability of emails. What does that? You're referring to your previous question, how we are tracking the events of emails, right? If that is my understanding, then certainly there are multiple ways in which you can see the different metrics like open clicks, deliverability, bounces, everything you can track, right? So specifically in terms talking for deliverability, then you can use data views. There are multiple data views with the help of which you can actually track that and export it and track that. But that requires some SQL experience to be there. How API getting triggered? Pratiksha, so this was a simulation. So take it with a pinch of salt. I had done it on API Postman, which is in a real world example that will be done by the Magento system or the e-commerce system. You will take this external key which is there in the screen, and then this external key will be given to the Magento developers over there on the different teams, and then they will be using to trigger this particular trigger send definition. Okay, thanks Lakshmi for responding. Yes. How to connect trigger send to a Postman? Okay, not the content of this particular conversation, but certainly what I can do is, if you can quickly Google this particular problem, you will get a step-by-step guide. Okay, there is a lot of things out there in the market. and you'll get it simply step-by-step guide to do that. And you can easily use Postman to do all these kind of things. And I would encourage to do that, because Postman is in Marketing Cloud. Once you move on from basics to actually medium to complex, everything is related to APIs and custom development. Because every customer, at least in enterprise level, you don't get to suffice all the problem statement with out of the box things, no matter how much we want to say. But certainly there are a lot of complex use cases, custom solutions, for which you require APIs, you require custom development, you require all kind of knowledge of the native languages, scripting languages. This is AMP and SSJS. So I would encourage you to use that. How we will test the emails are rendered correctly. Okay, so that is something, Muru, altogether a different topic. Testing wise, within Email Studio, there is a part which I'll show you. So since this is already approved email, I won't be able to show you this email, but let me see. So there is an option to preview and test. Okay, that is out of the box, where you can preview that on mobile as well as on desktop. That certainly you can do out of the box. Then there are various tools as well. Paid tools like Litmus and others, with the help of which you can actually see the emails on various screen resolutions, like tab. These days tabs are not standard. 9 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches, Chrome, Android, iOS, all this kind of complexity can be done as well. Browser testing, again, browser testing is also very important. Cross browser testing, because Outlook testing. Outlook is one of the things that you should be very worried about in case if you are doing any testing or email sends. Always make sure that you test it on Outlook, because Gmail, Outlook, these are different systems of the world in the sense that the way they take these emails. I hope I was able to answer that, and I'll quickly show you that as well, Muru, if there is a template placed email. Okay, let me see if I can show you that over here. So that's the mechanism I was talking about, Muru, wherein you can select one of the particular data extension and see how the things change, right? So that's one of the ways of previewing. And over here, you've got Litmus that I was talking about. So you can do a lot of things with Litmus, right? And you can get it integrated over here. And then with the help of Litmus, you can do that very granular, minute level testing. I hope that answers your question. Yes, email on asset. That's right, Kaleem. I mean, thanks for reminding that. It went off my head. So email on asset and Litmus, these are one of the two good systems which you can actually integrate and use that. Don't forget to do it cross-browser testing, guys. It's very imperative. And Outlook, as I said, Outlook is different. Let's say that. Okay, I hope I answered all the questions till now. So let me jump on to use case number 2. Okay, just quickly before moving on to use case number 2, one of the small things that email analytics. So I think one of you, I think it was Muru, who asked about what happened, how do I extract the data? So always keep an eye on the email analytics part, because you're sending emails to actually gain something. And these are peripheral things, not specifically related to Email Studio. I'm just giving you a perspective of how to make your thinking broad enough. Email analytics, you have to store that data somewhere so that you can do something out of it. Eventually the idea is to sell more clothes for this customer. So think from that perspective, how a customer will actually be benefited with that. So whatever you do related to the customer, that's how you will be able to create a link out of it. I mentioned about email and web personalization. Now, this is a transactional email. There are two types of email, commercial and transactional. Transactional is something that we saw, which is being triggered by something that you do as a user. Commercial emails are like emails which we've done. That will be something that I'll be showing you in part 2 now. But which is basically that Swiggies of the world, that Ubers of the world, that Amazon of the world that send you to entice you to purchase more, right? So in that particular case, these are what would be the recommendation in those ones? This data is collected for that. So if I'm clicking a lot on, for example, men's jeans, okay, or for that say kids cloth, and trying to purchase that, see, system is collecting that data. The data is collecting on e-commerce, the data is collecting on emails, the data is collected on other systems. I showed you on the landscape. Eventually you have to converge all 3 places and make sure that how you can make use of this data to make the customer purchase more. Eventually, that is the thing to make him purchase more. So you have to converge that data. Email is one of the aspect of that three things I spoke about, right? There could be multiple others. Let's say 10. Email is one part of it. So that data is extracted generally from data views, which is again requires some SQL knowledge. And once you do that, you merge it with some other form of data, and then you make use of data to entice the customer more with some in-app messages, emails, web behaviors, where you can get to see the specific content that you are actually more interested in. So that's the end goal of it, guys. So always keep that in mind, that why we are doing that whole process, how customer will benefit out of it. Coupons, like again, a small tidbit. If you put a particular product in a cart, I don't know how many people have seen that, but in a lot of e-commerce site, if you don't want to purchase any item for a particular price, do one thing: add that product into your cart and leave it for like a week or so. You will get an email saying that this is again abandoned cart use case I'm talking about from a technical standpoint, but again from a user perspective, you'll get an email saying from that particular e-commerce system like Amazon's, or in this case apparel company, saying that by the way, we have seen that you have not completed this purchase. Here is a 10% coupon for you to complete that. That's a very common use case from a marketer's perspective, right? So whether any coupons are involved in this. So all these are some peripheral things that you should be aware of in this particular problem statement, right? Let me move on now. Okay, what about use case number 2? Use case number 2 is more in terms of continuation of the previous use case, but solving a different problem. And I've kept all the mechanics of it around it similar, like the company, the apparel company. Now, you want to send a personalized email to their customer based on, let's say, 3 things. Personal details. Personal details means name, first name, last name, email address, phone number. Second is demographic details, your age, your location, whatever, all these details. Based on those details and your interest. So in my case, particularly, for example, if I'm looking for, in this apparel company's case, for more t-shirts, then probably I'm a customer who is a male. I am interested in shirts, men's shirt of a certain size. So all that information is captured by this particular company and their web portals. All this data is getting gathered every day. Like Amazon, if you do a small click, they capture it. If you spend specific time on a particular page, they capture it. So all that data is getting harvested on their sites, and they make use of that data to send you personalized content. And we'll look in a moment in the context of Email Studio how this is used. So everything is in a circle, right? The previous use case and this use case is a continuation of that logically as well, because the data that is getting harvested on this apparel company's website, e-commerce or / website, okay, that data is internally used to actually give you more recommendations. That is one point of it, but we are dwelling on that. So that particular data is used to do personalization at scale. Okay, personalization can be on SMSs, in-app notifications. It could be on WhatsApp. It could be various channels. Email, SMS is a very basic part of it, but very important, but basic. It could be done on website. It could be done on next time if you go to that same web browsing website. I tend to get a lot of pages where men's t-shirts are shown more. So that's the end of the day, that's how they want to do eventually. That's the whole circle. And obviously then they want to link it to you purchasing that shirt as a part of this campaign, right? That's where ROI comes into picture. The user purchases that particular t-shirt. Now, which campaign has initiated that purchase? That tracking is also very important. Not a part of this discussion, but always keep an eye, because everybody asks from marketers, what is the ROI of this campaign? The campaign that we are doing. In this particular case, let's say sending a personalized email, this campaign. So that is very important aspect as well, but not a conversation for today, but keep an eye on that. Right. What are the different points that you need to be cognizant of while you are solutioning this use case? Okay. So one of the important point to solution this use case is what is the data that is used for this email. I spoke about demographics data. I spoke about personal data. There are interest related data. There are psychological. There are multiple categories of data that is collected or harvested by this company and Amazon's and these kind of companies of the world, right? Then what is segmentation of data? This is also very important. Now you have a customer data, you have your interest data, you have your demographics data, you have your all different kind of data stored, right? How you do segmentation and joining of that data. And that's where somebody mentioned over here in terms of data model. How do you devise that data model so that all these tables for customer details, products purchased, demographics, interest, everything is connected to each other so that you can make use of all these data, right? So that's a conversation, probably not for today. I think they would have been, I'm not sure, or proposed contact builder sessions. I think it has happened already, but those were conversations of that particular topic where this data model is particularly defined. How do I define that data model? Because if you are a part of any marketing cloud or any Salesforce or any other particular system, you know the data model is the base of everything. So you have to devise it, you have to design it in such a way that it looks really, really good in terms of the usability. When I say looks not means anything else, but usability perspective, right? So coming back to segmentation, and then obviously email content. What are the emails that you need to send again? So this is the amount of personalization and content for this particular use case that we are going to use, right? Okay, so let's go back to our system now. So let me go back to content first. In the meantime, everybody is with me, or everybody has their plans? If you are Singapore going out on Saturday evening, everybody with me? Can I get a yes with everybody? Can I get a yes quickly so that just to gauge that people are actually engaging, or I'm just, yes. Can I get some more yes? Great, fine. So quickly, I had a glimpse of one of the questions that was asked by Muru. In that case, troubleshooting AMP script. Of course, AMP script, and it has been answered as well in emails. I just wanted to take your concentration for 1 second on a topic which is not email studio, but for very important for you. How many of you have that particular liberty of using a email marketing cloud system out there for your particular learning? Does everybody has a hands-on to marketing cloud system? Yes, no? Can I get yes, no? Because the reason I'm asking that question is if you have it, certainly you can go and resolve that, but there are other places as well where you can learn AMP script without having access to marketing cloud, right? So one of my good friend and colleague Pasio has devised a system. If somebody wants it, we can actually provide that, which is helpful for you to learn SSJS and AMP script without having access to marketing cloud. So that's a very good place. So just trying to reference from what Muru said, you can actually debug there as well, and in this case over here as well in marketing cloud email studio. Okay, Lawrence, probably you can check with Funny on that, or if you have this still you're on ship platform for AMP. Yes, Kalyani. So you can simply Google that. If I get, let me see. That is the thing. Let me see if I've got any thing around it. Yep, it is called MC snippets. Got it. So that's the tool. Yes. So with the help of this tool, what you can do is you can quickly enhance your AMP script and SSJS skill without having access to marketing cloud. Very good, very important, free of cost, done by a good friend of mine, Patricio. So if you are getting any advantage out of it, do go and say thank you to him. So very good. Right. So let's move on. And if you have anything on those lines, anything specifically with respect to learning of how do I do all these things, please reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. I'm very active on LinkedIn, not that much on Twitter, but certainly you can reach out to me. Okay, use case number 2. So use case number 2 was about personalization, right? So let me go to data extensions. I'm pretty sure that you are aware by this stage that what is key use cases for Email Studio, key uses of Email Studio. One of the use case for Email Studio is basically subscriber management, right? Where you manage a subscriber. When I say subscriber management, just trying to relate to my use case, all the data that was harvested on e-commerce side of that apparel company, right? Fictitious apparel company, like in terms of what is your interest of your products, like men's jeans or men's t-shirt. What is my details? Because I'm a logged in user, so they have all my details: mobile number, SMS, first name, last name, location, age, etc. That details is with them. How much time I spent on, let's say, a particular page. All this kind of data is harvested. They provide that data to us. In this case, Marketing Cloud. And where you store that? You store it in data extension in Email Studio. So the data is transferred out of the scope, but the way the data is transferred, you can transfer the data in real-time basis, in batch mode, with the help of connectors, if at all they are available, but multiple ways of getting that data. But again, out of this context of this conversation, but over here, what I've done is I've just shown you a small glimpse of 2 tables that I've created for my demonstrating this use case. What I've done is I've got this data of customer data and customer interest. Okay, so customer data is name, email, etc., etc. And customer interest is what kind of products that particular customer like. In my case, it could be in the continuation of this use case, it will be men's t-shirt, right? So that data, again, out of context, but from in the big picture, that is coming from e-commerce site via mechanism, batch mode or real time, whatever the case may be, and getting stored over here. Now, again, more detailed question, but not answering over here. The segmentation is done in this particular case. Segmentation is merging those data. So for example, I want to target male which are above 40 years of age and living in a particular location. Remember, this this client is global in nature. So Amazon is global. So I want to do that kind of segmentation. So all that kind of segmentation needs to be done over here. I will show that in a part of emails, but that segmentation needs to be done. The data model needs to be created in order to facilitate that segmentation as well, which will be done. It could be done in your Automation Studio. Journey builders are a prime use case to use that data model. Not a part of this conversation, which will be happening in future cases, but certainly this is something that is very of importance of data modeling, segmentation. Not much spoken about because these are not glamorous things. What are the glamorous things? Showing you jazzy emails, progressive profiling, journey builders, Automation Studio. No, this is the most important and difficult part. So you don't get many people talking about this in any conversation, but that amounts the base of the whole solution. And always remember, this is one thing that you are doing. Tomorrow, on top of it, you will build everything. So your base has to be really strong. So keep that in cognizant of whenever you are devising the solution. It has to be scalable. It has to be according to the customer, right? But in the long term, also to survive. Correct? It should be good on pocket. That is a very important consideration any customer has. It has to be really good on their pocket. They don't want to spend any much money. So, but certainly you have to be cognizant of all these aspects, right? So now the data is there from the e-commerce side and it's hosted over here in my data extension in this section of the Email Studio. Now, what is the next step? Next step is obviously we have got the data. We know the use case. Now we'll go and create the content. Content will be created over here. And I'm pretty sure Funny's team has done a stellar job in getting all the right people along with himself to get this content related thing done with you. So what I'm doing is I'm going to show you an email. And what this email will do is this email will suffice my use case. Okay. So now in this particular use case, what I'm doing right now is, if you see, I've created already templated email. What it does is it does personalization. And I'm not talking about personalization, hi Pankaj or hi Funny or hi Muru. No, I'm not talking about that. That is, I don't consider that as a personalization at all. I mean, it is so basic from that angle. I'm saying personalization in terms of what customer is interested in. I want to see that email, right? Imagine a concept that you are actually a non-vegetarian, but you are getting emails which are related to non-vegetarian food category as a part of your all delivery startups, food delivery startups are providing, right? Not a good experience at all. Probably I'll unsubscribe from them, I'll spam them, which is the last thing that our marketers want. So the email has to be intelligent enough to show the right content in which the customer, the space in which customer is. So in our use case, what is this customer space? I have taken the liberty of tweaking the use case a bit, but certainly what I'm doing is right now, I'm taking the NTO's help, Northern Trailer Outfitters, which is our go-to place for a lot of things in the demos. What I'm doing over here is I've created email content and I put a carousel over here. Okay, what is the carousel? Carousel is a feature with the help of which you can get 3-4 rotating images all the time. If you see already, it shows you keeps on rotating 3 images that I've selected, and all the images are specifically for a particular category, which is about outdoor hiking. Why I have done it? Because as a part of data, I am aware of that particular customer. The interest is outdoor hiking, right? So that's one of the criteria that I've used to showcase this carousel. So that's personalization again. Next level of personalization is dynamic content. What is dynamic content? Dynamic content is something, it's a rule-based engine. Based on certain rules, you can actually show the content to the customer. Okay, remember example of vegetarian and not vegetarian food. I'll translate that into now Marketing Cloud NTO. So now what I've done is I've let some rules over here. If you see over here right now, in this particular case, I've created some rules saying that, and remember all this data has been given to me or provided to me by different system, one of them being e-commerce, that if the gender is equal to male and the location is Singapore, I want to display this particular image to the customer. So that's personalization, right? Based on various attributes or data points that I've been collecting for any kind of customers. So if this is the particular case, then this image will appear. What if there is another use case where gender is equal to female, but age is greater than 18? This image will pop up, right? I can create multiple use cases like this. I can do it for example, if it is a woman and the location is Japan, gender is woman, location is Japan, show me this image. In my case, I wanted to actually show you a scenario where gender is female, location is Japan, age is more than 45. So this was the image that I wanted to showcase, right? So these are the 3 use cases which I have identified as a part of personalization. Remember why I'm doing it? Always think why I'm doing it. The reason I'm doing it is so that customer feels comfortable with my email that I'm sending, which is related to the taste that he has or she has. In our particular case, if for example, he belongs to Singapore and he likes hiking, show him this image, right? So that's the email that I've created with dynamic content, and all of it which I've created it in a very less span of time with only clicks, no code. It's all click and drag. So that's the beauty of this platform. It helps you to create very beautiful emails with clicks. Okay, not to say that you don't need to learn AMP script and other languages in order to provide more personalization, certainly heavy duty personalization, certainly, but this is one of the aspects which suffices my use case, right? So that's dynamic content, and I'll quickly take you to the next page to show you the preview of it, how it finally looks like in an email based on various personas that I have identified. These are the personas that I have identified. Let's quickly go and see on the preview. So this is the email carousel for 3 images. And then this is for a particular persona where Remember, I told female, the gender is female and age is more than 18. It will display this image. If I traverse to the next attribute, in this particular case, look, it was, the rule was location is Singapore and gender is male, then this image will get displayed. Similarly, for the third one, it will get displayed a different one. And then there is a default one as well to fall back, right? So that is one level of personalization. That there are multiple, but this is the one level of personalization which suited our use case, and we utilize dynamic content to do that, right? Any questions still now? Because now what I'll do is I'll cover a couple of more things, but that would be in a conversational mode because I don't have much to showcase in terms of demo, but that would be certainly conversational. But any questions or thoughts till now? And I would request team as well to, if there is any question and I'm not able to answer that due to my demonstration, please be helpful to answer those as well. Natasha, Pankaj. So don't worry, Pankaj only, not sir or ma'am. Right. So that was one use case, which is about personalization with the help of dynamic content. Okay. Now, I was just quickly checking how much time do we have in our hand. So that's okay. Probably an hour now. So I have 10-15 more minutes, I'm presuming. Next one. That is one level of personalization. Now there are many other components that are provided by Marketing Cloud within Email Studio to complete this personalization. And I'm not going into any complex ones which are Einstein related, but certainly I will be talking about one more thing which is called enhanced dynamic content. That is again, enhanced dynamic content is one level up from dynamic content, hence the name enhanced dynamic contents, as you can see from that. So basically all these rules that you're creating, you will provide it as a form of Excel sheet, which is basically a CSV, and you will provide 2 columns to them, and all these rules will be configured with the help of your Excel sheet or CSV file to be precise, right? So same thing, similar use case with this. One of the advantages is it's done with the CSV and you can do it on scale. One of the very good examples that come across, again, very common with any global company, in our case, an apparel company, is that you want to send email to a person who is in Japan in Japanese, who is, for example, in Singapore in English, London English, but in Europe, if you want to send or target that particular customer, you want to send that email in German, right? Like this, since it is a global company, you have 10-15 different categories of locations in which you want to cater with different languages. How do you do that? One of the ways is by creating this content with the images, or you can use that enhanced dynamic content to satisfy or complete this use case, right? So that's another way of doing it, enhanced dynamic content. There are multiple more, but I wanted to cover this thing in the brevity of time. Now let me get back to my particular scenario about this one. So we spoke about data. The data was sourced from various e-commerce systems. We spoke about segmentation briefly, wherein we have got data in different sets. How do I merge them and create a data model which helps me to actually do it at scale? Email content, we spoke about dynamic content, enhanced dynamic content. Again, another segue into this would be AMP script. AMP script, with the help of AMP script, you can do a lot of things. Again, it comes into the boundaries of development, where with the help of AMP script, you can do a lot of personalization, which is again not a scope of this session, but certainly something that you need to ponder upon if there is another similarity to the use case, and you can use AMP script. It makes our case very easy. But again, remember, it's AMP script, it's code. Marketers, at the end of the day, always remember with Marketing Cloud, this is a system which you need to hand over to marketers. Marketers are generally not tend to be tech savvy. So hence we are moving towards a world of low code or no code systems, especially Marketing Cloud, because it's run by marketers. So less of coding, more of click and drag is something that is preferred, until you are not able to resolve a use case with the help of out of the box click and drag features. So always keep that in mind. Coming back, Email contents, I spoke about a couple of ways: dynamic, enhanced dynamic email. And this is not the personalization that I'm talking about, first name, last name. No, no, that is given at any day and time. This is more towards a level of detail or a more complex personalization at scale. Okay, based on whatever we have spoken about in 2 use cases, there's third use case as well, which I can certainly take up, but I wanted to ask, in terms of use case number 2, what are the other things that you think, and it's totally purely from a logical use case perspective, that you as a member think that should be useful and should be considered? Like, remember, I'll give you a reference. In use case 1, we spoke about analytics. What is something that you feel should also be considered as a part of solutioning this? Not necessarily email studio, or it could be, but what could be other things that you think should be good enough for us to keep in consideration, apart from these very basic, out of the box, implicit things? Any thoughts? I think we can't do the dynamic content of use case 2 without AMP script. I mean, again, the answer is yes and no, depending on the use case. If the AMP script, I mean, you can use AMP script again. In one of the content blocks, you can certainly use AMP script to do something else in that particular email. For example, get a coupon code. For example, get some data with respect to the purchase you have made in the last time, something like that. Nobody's stopping you to do that. So again, yes and no, depending on the use case, if you've got what I've said, Lakshmi. Anything else that you think which is not covered as a part of this use case solution, but is important, we should also consider? Yeah. Okay. Data model, absolutely. As I said, it's the heart and soul of your solution, any given day and time of it. Nobody talks about it because it's not glamorous. What is glamorous? Journey builder, right? What is glamorous? Einstein. Data model is the basic things. If you don't do it properly at enterprise level, you're doomed to fail. If not today, then tomorrow or day after, because enterprises are built for years. So make sure that you are aware, very cognizant while designing and developing your data model, right? Okay, let's move on to the third use case that I've got for you. But again, this is not in a demo perspective. This is more from a perspective of your conversation and some food for thought, not from a solution or a demo perspective. Okay, the third use case that I have for you is the customer wants to collect more information, rather the client. So that's a typo. So client wants to collect more information from the customer so that they can target them better with product recommendation. So at the end of the day, you want to recommend products, right, to them so that they can make the purchase, right? So that's the eventuality of all the things that we are doing. We are talking over here. We want customer to purchase more, spend money. How do I do that as a part of solutioning? Any thoughts with, I mean, it can be very logical. I'm not expecting you to revert in terms of expertise of Email Studio, but the idea is to ignite a conversation to say that, okay, how do I get more information from the customer, or whatever, in the context of what we are having. There is no right or wrong answer. So please be up and vocal on the chatter, right? Please involve more so that we can also see if there is anything. And always remember, I'm not here with all kind of gyan or knowledge over here. No, I've learned it. I've made mistakes. I might make mistakes in the future. That is fine. I'm here to learn from you as well, right? With your questions as well. There might be some questions that I might also be thinking, okay, I haven't thought from it this angle. So it's a conversational bimodal osmosis discussion. So please collaborate on it. Ask questions I might not be able to answer, but certainly I will get back to you. So Latasha says Einstein content selection. Certainly we can use that. Einstein content selection helps you to do it on scale without putting your brains, because Einstein is the brain for that, right? You can leverage that feature to do it. What else we've got? Lakshmi is talking about surveys. Lawrence is saying campaigns. Absolutely, surveys and campaigns is one of the things, very key things that you do as a part of any marketers to actually obtain data so that you can provide some more better recommendations at the end of these. Kalyani is talking about cloud pages, smart captures, feedback forms. Absolutely. So surveys, campaigns, all this is manifested or implemented as a part of these particular features like cloud pages, smart capture, feedback forms. Absolutely. So that is true. Polls, preference management, progressive profiling. So Kalim, you're right. Progressive profiling is a common term that is used to actually get the data. Creating smart capture form in cloud pages. Absolutely, Sasha. That's the way of doing a progressive profiling. So let me take one term from Kalim, which he has spoken about. It is progressive profiling. What is progressive profiling? Progressive profiling. You have one or two data points of a customer. You want more data points for that customer. So that's progressive profiling. And why would a customer give it to you? Obviously, customer is not sitting out there free and giving that information to you. So you have to entice that particular customer. How you do that? Provide coupons, provide some rebates, whatever. So something in order to get that information. So that's progressive profiling for you. So if I, as a customer, is only provided the details for first name and last name and location, or sorry, email as a part of, think it from that end-to-end perspective. If I'm shopping on that apparel website and I'm first time customer, I have only provided you first name, last name, email, because that was mandatory to get registered. You don't have any other information about me. What do I like? What do I dislike? Right? Whether I'm a male or a female, you don't have any kind of data. Think from that perspective. Then this progressive profiling becomes very important in our use case, because you cannot target me if you don't know anything about me. You need to know, right? So our system, Email Studio, in that whole universe of things or landscape, is small place, will help you in doing small bit of it. Always think from that perspective. Okay, progressive profiling. Now you only know 3 things about me: first name, last name, email, right? Come to Email Studio. In Email Studio, in the context of this conversation, and a lot of people have mentioned smart capture. Absolutely, you can do it on cloud pages. But in the context of my discussion, you can use one very important feature that is relatively new, which is probably a year or 2 old. That is called your, again, that's a brain fade moment for me. That tool is called interactive emails, right? Interactive emails. That's one good feature that is come that will help you to do progressive profiling apart from other use cases. Wow. So this is something that happens always in a demo. So mark my words, in any demo, you should be ready with all these embarrassing things. These will happen. In my last demo, when I was presenting, again, incidentally to customers in Singapore, my system was throwing error. That some random error. I was in middle of presentation and the system was throwing error. So always be cognizant that system will throw a lot of challenges to you while demoing. That is called embarrassment during demos. System will never leave you a chance to embarrass you. See, this is an example of that. I've been using this system for last 2-3 days. Never it has logged out. And now since I was so active, still it logged me out. So that's how these things work. Murphy's law, no? Whatever something is supposed to go wrong, it will go wrong at that moment. That's an example of it for you. Okay, coming back. Content. Email Studio use case, and let me open that same one. Let me edit it. Edit content. Okay, so let me see if I've added that in this one. Okay, so I don't recollect I have done it over here, but nevertheless, what I'll do is I will overwrite it. So where is my email form over here? Let me see if I have already done it or not as well, because that will be ready-made. And until unless another important point for any demonstration, until unless it is explicitly asked, don't create new things in the context of SFMC. Don't try and show them end-to-end perspective in any demo, because it will land you in some embarrassing situations, because email won't go, for example. You never know. It generally happens, but it won't happen at that particular stage. So be cognizant of that fact. Another nugget from my experience, that edit things, don't create and show the end-to-end journey. Absolutely not, until it's asked for. Personalization. Just give me a moment. Yeah, so I've got it finally. Alrighty. So now this is very one basic progressive profiling that I have created. Okay, and you can certainly enhance on top of it. What I've done is I've simply dragged and dropped this feature email form over here, and I have already pre-created something for you, which is, see over here, what I'm asking that particular customer, I'm not asking his first name, last name, because I know that, right? I know 3 attributes of that particular customer: first name, last name, and email. So email is the reason I'm actually reaching out. So it goes without saying. Over here, what I'm asking is, what are your favorite sports? Based on that, you can provide another questions. If it is biking, I can show something, questions related to biking. Hiking, I can show something related to hiking. That happens on a what do I say, real-time basis, not necessarily in this particular feature, but it can. Then you can have describe yourself questions. So you will get, this is an open-ended option to tell, give an open-ended platform to the customer to talk about something which you cannot know with the help of some specific questions. Okay, so it can be open-ended. It can tell you psychographic analysis about the particular customer, which is about why he or she buys a particular product, which is a gold mine of information for a customer or marketer, sorry. Right. So this is this is a place with the help of which you can do the progressive profiling. Coming back, cutting the chase, where you can do progressive profiling, store the data, and then after that doing a lot of analytics with that data. Now you know that person likes biking, right? Sorry, hiking. For our example's sake, let's say hiking. He has provided the information of hiking. Now I know that particular name, first name, last name, email, and he likes hiking. Next time, if you remember use case number 2, the email that that sent across for that particular customer, which was about hiking, that's how I'm connecting the dots now. So I know the information for that particular customer. I know hiking is something that he interests him or her. I send that email now, the second use case email, which was about hiking. Remember the carousel, remember that particular demographics based on that, showing women, Japanese women of age 45. That's how I'm connecting the dots for you. You get the information, you send that email. The customer likes, clicks on it, takes to the Amazon or that apparel website, makes a purchase. That's how you connect the dots. That's the circle. Always think from that perspective. Nobody's working in this globalized world of systems in one single silo. Everybody is connected to everything. So that's the crux of my discussion now, which I'll put to rest now. That's how you actually devise end-to-end strategy. This email gets you the scenario 2 number email. That scenario number 2 emails enables that particular customer to land on that particular tent which he liked and purchase it. And you can relate it. And that's how you calculate the ROI as well, with some nuances, but certainly the logic of it. I hope I was able to make some sense over here. And those were the 3 use cases that I had decided for the day. Okay, now I'll leave this forum open for any Q&As in general to Email Studio, in general to Marketing Cloud or Landscape. Anything that you want to ask, if there's something that I won't be able to answer, which I'm pretty sure there would be, I can certainly come back to you as well via Funny. Okay, so how will we store this information? So Natasha is asking which information you're talking about. I'm presuming you're talking about the customer information, right? If my understanding is correct in terms of what kind of information. So the information, so this information, again, depending on use case, in with respect to marketing, if you want to send any kind of communication to that customer via email, SMS, WhatsApp, Facebook, in-app, anything, TikTok or whatever, you need to store it in Marketing Cloud. And how you will store this information? That's stored in form of obviously tables. There's data extension, and you have to relate those, make those data extensions relatable. Okay, so that's how the information, and you source that information as well. So you get it from e-commerce system, you get it from other analytics tool which are there. For example, analytic tool is there to actually gather information about the app behavior. Amazon app that I'm using, it is again capturing some information. Legacy systems, something else, 4 or 5 systems is sourcing the data into Marketing Cloud, which is only for marketing purposes, not necessary for any other purposes. So for example, if I have 10 attributes captured for a particular customer, not necessarily I'll get all the data in Marketing Cloud. So just bear in mind, or for that sake in CRM as well. Because in Marketing Cloud, I'm pretty sure everybody is aware, everything is calculated, the cost is calculated based on the contacts. The more contacts you save, the amount goes more, the bill becomes more. You don't want to do that. So again, on a use case perspective, but if you want, you can reach out to me if there is any specific use case in mind, Natasha. Okay, anything else, team, over here? Any other questions in general, specific to Email Studio, Marketing Cloud, how to get into SFMC, career, anything? The forum is now open for next couple of minutes. If not, then certainly we can wrap up for the day. Okay, so since I am unable to see any questions, so I'm presuming 2 things out of it, that my session went really well because there were a few questions and I answered them very well, and silence is golden. So that means everybody has understood everything. So I had delivered on it. So Funny Mastan, make a note of it. It was an awesome session. Okay, so thank Mastan. On that note, I would, if there are no questions, Mastan, do you want to wrap up? Thanks, Muru. Thanks, Mastan. Thanks, Kalyani.